Out of My Own. It was Sheila's first solo album on Indie Pop Records, and it was released in 1984. I should say that we're recording this interview in 2012, which is rather scary. It's 30 years ago since Monsoon's pioneering contribution to what is now known as world music. Interestingly, so much of Monsoon's music was exported to America, particularly the 12-inch of Ever So Lonely, and it helped build a fan base from there for her when she started putting out the Real World albums. And it was a defiantly independent time, and indie pop is Indian-influenced pop music. So Sheila was highly successful with these 4 solo voice and drone albums on Peter Gabriel's label when she started getting really good distribution in America because of that. She came back to release indie pop's last 2 albums. There were 2 projects with the Ganges Orchestra, EEP1 and EEP2, and This Sentence Is True. And we'll be re-releasing these as downloads in their original sleeves in the near future. So yes, back to the making of Sheila's Out of My Own album, which, along with Quiet, were released in 1984. Defiant, fearless, and determinedly independent, we were still sad and angry following Monsoon's demise. Phonogram was still Public Enemy #1. It was a charged time. We were fired up, and I think we used the anger like rocket fuel, which we put into the making of Out of My Own. No singles, of course. The Phonogram situation had united us even further into a really strong team, and we began to see that if we played our cards and the situation well, the problem, the splitting up of Monsoon before it's reached its kind of anything like what we were capable of, the problem could maybe become an opportunity in disguise. And this time we had a plan. I'd made a bit of money from Monsoon, enough to buy our own portable studio setup, and had already formed the indie pop label in 1981 to release the Monsoon EP, which had shown the potential and had just got assigned to Phonogram through David Claridge's Mobile Suit label. This time, of course, Sheila had full artistic control written into her contract with Indie Pop Records. So we were ready to go. Back to this 8-track studio setup. The Eurythmics, who were having lots of success at the time, had shown us and everyone else what can be done with your own 8-track studio setup. It's cheaper, you record when you like, you can experiment in your own time rather than watching the studio clock. And then you mix it at a professional studio with the mixing engineers, fresh ears and input. And all this suited Indie Pop's eccentric, low to no budget marketing promotion budget. It was kind of cooperative kind of vibe, really, using some ace session musicians and doing as much as we possibly could ourselves. Sheila knew all this when she signed to Indie Pop, that it was going to be, she was going to be involved in everything, not just singing, but and not just the singing and promotion, but whether it's sending out records and putting them in a sleeve or signing those. We were very clear on this, and all credit to her, because with Monsoon she'd enjoyed working at London studios, European promotion jaunts, big cars taking you here, there, and everywhere, video, all of which, of course, the artist pays for. And you have to acknowledge that you've got so little control, and then all the expenses for the video and everything you go as an advance, and they own the recordings forever. So there was a lot of drive, for us to take control, really. And if we didn't know everything, then we worked at finding it out, and it was an exciting time. So a crash course for Sheila. hands-on in everything we did. Her name on the cover, of course, as opposed to just being able to be part of a group in Monsoon. And she just made a point of asking loads of questions, making sure she was involved in everything. Well, yeah, I think you need to be when you're in that kind of phase. We're committed to making challenging albums, and particularly with the Asian influence, it could really, and was at times, really misconstrued and misinterpreted and misquoted. And so, like Sheila, when she did interviews, would it wasn't the convention at the time, but she would take her recorder so that the journalist knew what had been said. There was so much musically to explore, bringing out the Indian influences in the writing of the tracks, the Hindustani and Carnatic, which is South Indian, instruments, and all the subtleties and the psychologies. And we were like in a playroom. We had so much that we wanted to try out. And, really, as we developed our musical vision, Sheila was such a brilliant figurehead and inspiration musically. Strong, coherent, highly intelligent voice as a new role model for a lot of people, actually, not just women. And I think it's rare to have that in an artist, and we ran with it.